Lieutenant Commander Jack Hailstone stood at the helm of the stealth cruiser Shadowblade, his ice-blue eyes scanning the holographic display of the planet Zarthax below. 5 other figures, each as deadly as they were diverse, flanked him. These were the Galactic Suppressors, a clandestine team of ex-Marines handpicked by Hailstone himself, now working as the Iron Fist of the Galactic Council. "All right, team," Hailstone's gravelly voice cut through the silence. "We've got a situation brewing down there. A group of retired Saurian warriors is stirring up trouble, demanding their full pensions. The Council wants this nipped in the bud before it spreads." At that moment, the communication officer turned to Commander Hailstone. "Sir, we have an incoming transmission from the Galactic Council." The commander, not surprised by this at all, as they were always wanting updates. "Put it through. Let's see what they want now," he said with a sigh, not really interested in babysitting officials.
"I see you're already in position, Commander. Excellent work. This is exactly why we hired you. You're familiar with the mission briefing by now. Just one thing we left out of the report. A minor discrepancy. The local races down there will claim we have not given them all we owe for retirement, which is utter nonsense. We are the most honorable organization in the galaxy. Sort them out and report back to me."
Sergeant Maria Viper Rodriguez, the team's close-quarters combat specialist, sneered. "Lizards should have known better than to trust politicians." "That's not our concern," Hailstone replied coldly. "Our job is to shut this down, hard and fast. Any means necessary. You heard what the leader Volnak said. Be ready for anything." The rest of the team nodded in agreement. There was Captain Ahmed Miraj Hassan, the team's infiltration expert, Lieutenant Zara Banshee Chen, their communications and electronic warfare specialist, Corporal Dmitry Bear Volkov, the heavy weapons expert, and Private First Class Liam E. Wraith O'Connor, their sniper and reconnaissance specialist. As the Shadowblade entered Zarthax's atmosphere, Hailstone laid out the plan. "Intel suggests the Saurians are gathering for a rally in the capital city. We'll infiltrate, assess the situation, and neutralize the leadership. If that doesn't work, we escalate until the problem is solved." The ship touched down in a secluded valley outside the city. As the team geared up, Mirage activated his chameleon suit, his form shimmering before blending seamlessly with the environment. "I'll scout ahead, get eyes on the target." Hailstone nodded. "The rest of us will move into position. Remember, we're not here to negotiate. The Council wants results, not excuses." The gravity of their situation began to sink in. The initial adrenaline of their decision was wearing off, replaced by a tense atmosphere as conflicting thoughts and emotions bubbled to the surface. Private First Class Liam Wraith O'Connor was the first to break the silence. "I don't give a damn about these lizards or their pensions," he said, his voice cold and detached. "The Council points, I shoot. That's the job. As long as the credits keep coming, I'll do whatever they ask. Simple as that." His words hung in the air for a moment before Sergeant Maria Viper Rodriguez rounded on him, her eyes flashing with anger. "Are you kidding me, Wraith? These aren't just some random targets. They're retired Marines, just like us. They've bled and sacrificed for the Council, only to have everything taken away because they dared to speak up. How can you not see the injustice in that?" Captain Ahmed Miraj Hassan nodded in agreement. "Viper's right. I signed up to be an enforcer against real threats. Terrorists, violent insurgents, that sort of thing. Not to be the strong arm for a bunch of corrupt politicians stealing from veterans. This isn't what I thought we were about." The debate was heating up, with team members taking sides. Corporal Dmitry Bear Volkov looked uncomfortable, torn between his loyalty to the team and his growing unease with their actions. Lieutenant Zara Banshee Chen chimed in, her voice tinged with frustration. "I always thought we were the good guys, you know, keeping the peace, maintaining order. But this feels wrong. We're supposed to protect people, not oppress them." As the argument escalated, Lieutenant Commander Jack Hailstone Frost's patience finally snapped. "Enough," he barked, his voice cutting through the chatter like a knife. The team fell silent, all eyes turning to their leader. Hailstone's ice-blue eyes swept over each of them, his expression hard and unreadable. Listen up, because I'm only going to say this once. It doesn't matter what we think about the mission or the council. It doesn't matter if we agree with it or not. We're soldiers, and we have a job to do. He paused, letting his words sink in. Our job is to complete the mission, collect our credits, and eventually retire with enough money to live comfortably. It's that simple. We're not politicians, we're not judges, and we're certainly not revolutionaries. We're the Galactic suppressors, and we do what we're told. Hailstone's voice softened slightly, but his words remained firm. I understand your concerns. I really do, but we can't afford to start questioning our orders now. That path leads to chaos, and chaos gets people killed. So get your heads in the game. Focus on the mission at hand. Save your moral debates for when you're retired and sipping cocktails on some paradise planet. The team shifted uncomfortably, but no one dared to argue further. Hailstone had made his position clear, and regardless of their personal feelings, they knew the importance of maintaining unit cohesion. Now, Hailstone continued, his tone brooking no further discussion, we have a job to do. The council wants this rebellion crushed, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Any questions? Silence reigned as the team exchanged glances. Despite their misgivings, years of training and discipline took over. They were professionals, after all. Good, Hailstone nodded. Gear up. We move out in 10. As the team dispersed to prepare for the upcoming operation, the tension in the air remained palpable. They had their orders, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Only time would tell how it would grow and what fruit it would bear. For now, though, they were the Galactic suppressors, and they had a rebellion to quash. As the team moved through the alien landscape, the twin suns of Zarthax beat down mercilessly. The city loomed ahead, a sprawling metropolis of twisted spires and bioorganic architecture, a testament to the Saurians' once great civilization. Banshee's voice crackled over the comms. I'm picking up chatter. Looks like the rally is set to begin in an hour at the Central Plaza. Good work, Hailstone replied. Wraith, find a perch. I want eyes on everything. Bear, set up a fallback position. Viper, you're with me. We'll get closer. See what we're dealing with. As the team split up, Mirage's voice came through. Commander, you need to see this. The crowd. It's not just Saurians. There are other species here too. Looks like this pension problem goes deeper than we thought. Hailstone frowned. This complicated things, but it didn't change the mission. Understood. Stay hidden. Keep reporting. As Hailstone and Viper made their way through the crowded streets, they could feel the tension in the air. Aliens of various species moved with purpose, many carrying crude weapons or signs demanding justice. At the Central Plaza, a massive gathering had formed. At its center stood an aged Saurian, his scales dulled with time, but his eyes burning with righteous anger. This was General Kasark, once a decorated hero of the Galactic Council, now the leader of this burgeoning rebellion. Brothers and sisters! Kasark's voice boomed across the plaza. For too long we have been silent. For too long we have accepted the scraps thrown to us by those we once served faithfully. But no more. The crowd roared in approval, a cacophony of alien voices united in their grievance. The council promised us security in our twilight years, Kasark continued. They promised to honor our sacrifices. Instead, they hoard wealth and power while we struggle to survive. I say it's time we remind them of the strength they once feared. As the crowd's fervor grew, Hailstone's mind raced. Hailstone's voice crackled over the secure comm channel. Change of plans. This is bigger than we anticipated. Wraith, do you have a clean shot on the general? Affirmative, came the sniper's cool reply. Waiting on your order, Commander. Hailstone hesitated for a split second. Taking out Kasark might quell the uprising, but it could also turn him into a martyr, potentially igniting an even larger rebellion. Hold fire. We need to assess the full situation before we act. As Kasark continued his impassioned speech, Banshee's voice cut in. Commander, I've intercepted some interesting communications. It seems this rally isn't just about pensions. There's talk of exposing major corruption within the council itself. This new information sent a chill down Hailstone's spine. If true, it could destabilize the entire galactic political structure. The implications were staggering. Mirage, Hailstone ordered. I need you to get closer. See if you can find any evidence of these corruption claims. On it, boss, Mirage replied, his voice barely a whisper as he slipped through the crowd, invisible to all. Meanwhile, the rally was reaching a fever pitch. Kasark's words were stirring something primal in the gathered aliens, a shared sense of betrayal and anger that transcended species boundaries. We will not be silenced, Kasark roared. We will not be forgotten. Today we stand united, and we demand justice. The crowd erupted in cheers and battle cries. Viper tensed beside Hailstone, her hand instinctively moving to her weapon. Commander, this is getting out of hand. If we don't act soon, we might lose control of the situation entirely. Hailstone nodded grimly. Bear, be ready to deploy crowd control measures on my mark. Banshee, jam their communications. We need to isolate Kasark from his supporters. As the team prepared to act, Mirage's urgent voice came through. Commander, you're not going to believe this. I've found documents, recordings. This goes all the way to the top. The Council, they've been systematically embezzling funds meant for veteran benefits, funneling them into private accounts. Kasark isn't just right, he's barely scratched the surface of the corruption. The revelation hit Hailstone like a physical blow. Throughout his career, he had always believed in the righteousness of his missions, in the greater good he was serving. But now, faced with irrefutable evidence of the Council's betrayal, he felt his world shift. What are your orders, sir? Wraith asked, his finger still poised on the trigger, ready to end Kasark's life with a single shot. Hailstone closed his eyes, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Everything he had ever fought for, every mission he had led, every life he had taken in the name of the Council, it all came into question in this moment. Stand down, he finally said, his voice heavy with the implications of his choice. All units, stand down. Commander? Viper questioned, surprise evident in her voice. We've been played, Hailstone explained, his tone bitter. All this time we thought we were maintaining order, serving the greater good. But we've just been pawns, enforcing the will of corrupt bureaucrats who've been stealing from the very people who bled for them. A tense silence fell over the comm channel as the team processed this information. So what do we do now? Bear asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Hailstone took a deep breath, his mind racing through the possibilities and consequences. We do what we should have been doing all along. We fight for what's right. With determined steps, Hailstone began moving through the crowd, heading straight for the podium where Kasark stood. Viper followed close behind, her eyes darting warily around the sea of aliens. General Kasark, Hailstone called out as he approached, his voice cutting through the noise of the rally. The old Saurian turned, his eyes narrowing as he recognized the human. Who dares interrupt? My name is Lieutenant Commander Jack Hailstone, Hailstone announced, loud enough for the crowd to hear. I was sent here by the Galactic Council to silence your protest, but I stand before you now to join it. A hush fell over the crowd, followed by a wave of murmurs and confused glances. Kasark's eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with suspicion. Why should we trust you, human? Kasark growled, his clawed hand resting on the hilt of a ceremonial blade at his waist. Hailstone met the Saurian's gaze unflinchingly. Because I have proof of the Council's corruption. Proof that goes far beyond the pension fraud you've uncovered. He gestured to Mirage, who materialized beside him, holding a data pad. My team has intercepted communications and documents that reveal a vast network of embezzlement and fraud, reaching to the highest levels of the Council. Kasark's eyes widened as he scanned the information on the pad. The crowd, sensing the shift in the air, pressed closer, their earlier anger giving way to a tense curiosity. If what you say is true, Kasark said slowly, then this changes everything. But why turn against your masters now? Hailstone's jaw clenched. Because I swore an oath to protect and serve. I've realized that by blindly following the Council's orders, I've been betraying that oath. It's time to make things right. A moment of silence passed as Kasark considered Hailstone's words. Then, to everyone's surprise, the old Saurian threw back his head and laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that seemed to shake the very ground. Well, well, Kasark chuckled. It seems the Council's pet humans have finally grown a conscience. Very well, Commander Hailstone. Let us see what your evidence reveals. Over the next hour, Hailstone and his team worked with Kasark and the rally organizers to present the evidence to the gathered crowd. Banshee used her skills to broadcast the information across the planet into nearby systems. The reaction was immediate and explosive. As news of the Council's corruption spread, protests erupted across dozens of worlds. The carefully maintained facade of galactic order began to crumble. Back on Zarthax, Hailstone and his team found themselves in an unprecedented situation. They were no longer the shadows in the night, the silent enforcers of a corrupt regime. They had stepped into the light, aligning themselves with the very people they had been sent to suppress. Commander, Wraith's voice came through the comm. We've got incoming. Looks like the Council isn't taking this lying down. Multiple ships entering the system. Hailstone nodded grimly. He had expected this. All right, team. This is where it gets complicated. We're about to go from enforcers to rebels. Anyone who wants out, now's the time to say so. Just as he was about to address his crew with a battle plan, an urgent message flicked on his wrist holopad. It was the head leader of the Galactic Council, Emperor Volnak. Commander Hailstone activated the message.
Commander Jack Hailstone, you think you can just betray the Galactic Council and not go unpunished? We always have a backup plan. We have accounted for every scenario. Give up. Surrender now, and the Council might show leniency. You're a fool to think you and your bunch of misfits could ever stand a chance against the might of the Galactic Council.
Well, that went well. At least we now know that surrender is not an option, the commander stated to his crew. He looked at each member of his team, the people he had fought beside for years. To his surprise and pride, not one of them flinched. We're with you, Commander, Viper said, speaking for all of them. All the way. Hailstone allowed himself a small smile before turning back to Kasark. General, it looks like we're about to have company. I hope your people remember how to fight. Kasark's eyes gleamed with a fire that belied his age. My friend, we Saurians never forgot. The real question is, are you humans ready to fight for something more than credits and orders? As alarms began to sound across the city, and the first shots of what would become known as the Great Galactic Rebellion were fired, Hailstone felt a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced in years. All right, team, he said, his voice filled with determination. Let's show these corrupt bastards what happens when they push too far. It's time to bring down the Council and build something better in its place. As the team moved into action, coordinating with the newly formed rebel forces, Hailstone couldn't help but reflect on the irony of their situation. They had come to Zarthax to quash a rebellion, only to become its spark. The road ahead would be long and bloody, but for the first time in years, Hailstone felt he was on the right side of history. The battle for Zarthax was just the beginning. News of the rebellion spread like wildfire across the galaxy, inspiring countless others to rise up and rid the Galactic Council of its deep-seated corruption and restoring balance to the intergalactic community.